Oh, that's from Kira. You pass that to us. Okay. Fine.
Madam Mayor?
That's up to you.
Yes, ma'am. It
There's
is.
only two there that you have to do, so.
Okay. Wait. Yes. Yes, it is. It's 5:30.
I'd like to call to order the City Council meeting, January 16th, 2025, 501 Main Street, 5:30 PM. As we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance tonight, the City of Keokuk staff would like for you to join us in a moment of silence out of respect for our Keokuk firefighter, Mark Davis. Mark passed away this past week after a battle with cancer. He was a devoted member of the Keokuk Fire Department and the City of Keokuk for 21 years. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family and friends, as well as the members of the Keokuk Fire Department. He will be greatly missed. We'll have a moment of silence. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have a roll call?
Crenshaw,
Here.
Walker,
Here.
Cackley,
Here.
Dade, Andrews,
Here.
Tillman,
Here.
Bryant,
Here.
Greenwald, all present.
Item number 4, Mayor's Correspondence. Friday, January 17th, 2025, there is a public meeting for the second annual Mississippi River Earth Day Fair that was held last year at the park down on the riverfront, and that's where it'll be again. The meeting is a planning meeting at the Lost Canvas, and it starts at 5:30 p.m. On Saturday, January 18th, 2025, we have Bald Eagle Appreciation Day. Starts at 9 a.m. at the First Christian Church. Come see the World Bird Sanctuary and the Iowa State University Insect Zoo. Take a trip down to Victory Park and view the eagles. Stop at the Southside Boat Club and watch the eagles feed on the river. There's lots and lots of things going on. It's a great opportunity, especially for kids. The insect thing is amazing, probably one of my favorite parts, but to see these birds up close and personal that they bring in from the sanctuary is just absolutely amazing. So don't miss it. If you have any opportunity to get there, please get there. It's a great day. Just go to the tourism website and you'll be able to get all the information you need. There are also on Saturday, January 18th, there'll be a vendor show at the Keokuk Mall. It's from 11 a.m. to 4 o'clock p.m. And also the Keokuk Chiefs supporting cerebral palsy green out at the Keokuk High School basketball games will be that day too. It starts at 1 o'clock and it runs through the girls and boys JV teams, and it is a big fundraiser for cerebral palsy. Sunday, January 19th, 2025, Keokuk Association for Rights and Equality, which is CARE, will host a Martin Luther King Jr. Day at 4 p.m. at the Bethel Baptist Church. Those are all great things that our community will support. Then the Keokuk School District has received word from the that a high school senior, Carter Killoran, has been chosen to sing the national anthem at the opening of the State of Iowa State Wrestling Meet on February 19th, 2025. What an honor for this young man and for our community. And as always, we need to eat, drink, and shop local. And a reminder to the council, we will not be having our budget meetings this Saturday morning that were scheduled for in honor of our fallen firefighter. Now comes one of the fun things that we get to do. We are getting a new person on our council. And so Jeff, if you would like to come to the podium, we will make sure you are up and ready to vote.
Keep it simple for stupid.
Okay, basically all you got to do is raise your right hand. Here we go. I, Jeffrey Mullen,
I, Jeffrey Mullen,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of
and
Iowa,
of the state of Iowa,
and that I will honestly demean myself
and I will honestly demean myself
in office
in office
and faithfully
and faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge the
discharge
duties of the city council person,
the
Ward
duties
3,
of the city council person, Ward 3,
and of the city of Keokuk
and of the city of Keokuk
to the best of my knowledge
to the best of my knowledge
and ability, and in accordance with the laws of the state of Iowa
in accordance with the laws of the state of Iowa
and the ordinance of said city,
and the ordinance of the said city.
so help me God.
So help me God. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
You have a seat. It's always nice to have something fun to do. Okay, we are at citizens' request. For citizens' request, anybody that is here to speak with the council, they can come to the podium, state your name, your address, and you have like 3 minutes. If there's somebody talking about the same thing, keep it limited and not repeating.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, of the council. My name is James Rauner. That's R-O-U-N-E-R, not R-O-N-N-E-R. First question is, what's the address of Lost Canvas? You said there's a meeting, Lost Canvas?
It's 717 Main.
I mean, the one place I cannot fit into? My 30-inch wide wheelchair won't fit through the front door? Okay, so I won't be there tomorrow because I can't fit through the door. There's on the north side of the 700 block of Johnson Street, there's 2 signs for no parking. Have no idea why. Nobody can explain to me why they're there. And I'm asking it because the individual that works or operates out of the building at 701 Johnson Street constantly and routinely parks on the sidewalk. And nothing is ever done about him parking and blocking the sidewalk. And if we can get those no parking signs removed, then he has no excuse. He can park on the street and leave the sidewalk open.
Okay.
So maybe the city can come up with, maybe have those no parking signs removed. They don't serve a purpose.
Okay,
That's the only place on Johnson Street there's no parking signs is this north side of the 700 block of Johnson.
okay.
And there's 2 of them there. No, they don't. There's no signs there. You can go down there, you can see my tracks. I drive down there all the time. There's two signs, the 701 Johnson. It says no parking. And also, it's kind of a moot point now, but February is routinely the snowiest month of the year in this area. Last week when we had snow plows are out, people are supposed to clear sidewalks. Going from here, just on the north side of Main Street, from here to Sonic, there was numerous businesses that failed to clear the sidewalks. Keokuk Auto Credit, Connections Bank, Hy-Vee, Hampton Inn, Chief Motel, American Eye Care and Shoemaker Hallen building. If we can't get the businesses to clear the sidewalks, how can we get the private citizens to clear theirs?
Okay,
So that's something else that maybe the city can encourage the appropriate ownership to clear sidewalks.
okay. We will look into it. Brian, who's Public Works, is not here. He had a death in the family too. So I will give these messages to Brian and we'll see what he does, and hopefully we can get it under control.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very
Well,
much.
I'll try not to break the carpet again.
That's okay. We can fix it. Is there anybody else who would like to come to citizens' request? Item number 6, consent agenda. Minutes of the regular city council meeting and workshop of January 2nd, 2025. Cash receipts and treasurer's report for December 2024. Resolution approving a liquor license for Sweet Sally's, 707 Main Street, Class C retail alcohol license effective January 24th, 2025, pending application and fire inspection. Resolution approving a liquor license for the Keokuk Spirits, 1013 Main Street, Class E retail alcohol license and ownership updates effective March 1st, 2025, and a motion to pay the bills and transfers listed in the registrar's office 5450 through 5452. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda, including the consent agenda?
Second. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item number 7. Motion to approve the initial reading of an ordinance amending section 9.28.040 dealing with the parking regulations for North 16th Street. Do I have a motion to approve?
The Public Works Department received a request from the Lee County EMS at the north side of the street, adjacent to the garage area of the new ambulance building at 1520 Blonder Street, be designated a no parking zone. This will ensure that the ambulances have enough room to safely turn into 16th Street and enough room to back into the bays. I would therefore recommend that no parking be allowed on the North 16th Street between Blondo and the alley to the west. Staff recommends approval.
Do we have any discussion?
I have a question. Are there any neighbors in the area that would impact their parking or in their properties?
Carissa, Kathy, I didn't know if Lee County had reached out to Mr. Albers at Double A Glass or if Brian had, but I did give him a call today. He said that it will limit their parking.
Okay.
He would prefer that it not happen, but that's really all he had to say was.
So in this picture with the garages on the left and then the street on the right, which side are we talking about having no parking? Both or which part?
Well, he has the north side, which would be the side, it's in red. Can you see, do you see in the picture that it's in red? So it would be across the street from him, adjacent to the curb on the double A
So across the
glass
street
side.
from the garages.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then of course, you cannot park in front of a driveway, so the driveway's probably, I don't know, if you go from curb back to alley, that's probably 160 feet. I would imagine that probably 75 feet. On the other side is probably driveway.
Mhm.
So, I mean, there would still be a few parking spaces on the opposite side.
For double A glass or,
Well, it wouldn't be designated, but, you know, we couldn't designate it. They could park out front of double A glass on Blondo. And we need to make sure that, there's no dumpsters or anything. We have been trying to get that, taken care of also.
okay.
Any more discussion? Can I have a roll call?
Crenshaw,
She's gonna go with me first. Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Mullen, Cackley,
Aye.
Dade, Andrews,
Aye.
Tillman,
Aye.
Bryant,
Aye.
Greenwald. All ayes.
Do I have a motion to waive the second and third reading of this ordinance? There's no motion. Item number 8, consider resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a one-year agreement for engineering services at the North Landfill with Klinger and Associates. Do I have a motion to approve?
Klinger and Associates has submitted an opinion of probable cost for the North Landfill for 2025. The services outlined are by the current permit. The estimated cost is $9,500, which includes 2025 spring sampling and reports, 2025 fall sampling and reports, and 2025 gas monitoring and general consulting. Authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with Klingler and Associates of Burlington, Iowa for 2025 engineering services at the North Landfill at an estimated cost of $9,500.
Do we have any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. Item number 9, do we have any council liaison reports? Item number 10, staff reports. You guys are easy tonight. Item number 11, new business. With all that being said, I need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We haven't been in the council meeting all that long, so I think we'll just go ahead and go right into the workshop if it's all right with everybody. We got a pretty big agenda on there. So this meeting is adjourned, and we will open up the council workshop, January 16th, 2025, and we will begin with item number 1 is hotel motel tax. And we have a list. We will start with Keokuk Parks Foundation.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Martha Neff, and I'm here with Annette Peebler, and we're here representing the Keokuk Wall Dogs and the Park Association, or the park, the Keokuk Parks. The Wall Dogs, which is I'm a part of, is an all-volunteer organization, and our goal is creating a positive change in our community through art, especially murals. And we started in 2018, and it was a vision of some high school students to start a mural group in Keokuk. And we did that with the help of Main Street. We worked in conjunction with some other organizations as well. And more and more as time has gone on, we've gotten more involved with other organizations. And if you want to learn more about us, I've passed out some information for you. And we can also be found on Facebook if you'd like to look at our photos and keep up with what we do. But I had Annette give you a handout that shows you some of our work that we've done so far. And we started small. On page 1 of the handout that we gave you, it shows our first murals, and we called those our Pride of Keokuk murals. And they were basically history murals. So we did 4 small works, and the one on the bottom right in the first page is yet to be hung. But that was how we began. And then we learned from that. And then on page 2, you can see our next projects, which were bigger. We did a riverfront wildlife mural. It was our first completely original design, and a large scale. It's 45 feet long, 10 feet high, and it's across from Victory Park. And it was funded mostly by the Golden Oak Society. And it was painted by school-age children and through adults in the community as well. And our oldest volunteer was 92. But we worked at the Keokuk Middle School with Heather Left and her middle school art club. We worked at the art center in the lower level with adults and children. And we take our canvases around, and anybody who wants to can help us paint. And then later the murals are hung. But we do most of our work here in Keokuk when times are kind of slow, like we work February through April. And then we work October through November. And then we look for places around town where it's kind of maybe could use a little color, use a little lift. We look for places like where there's plywood covering doors and windows, or walls that maybe aren't real attractive. So we found a 120-foot wall down at the Keokuk riverfront that was on the front of the waterworks. And we approached David Bogner and his board, and they were really great to work with. They were very happy to have a mural created. They didn't want us painting on their wall, but we paint on canvas, like I said, and we take those canvases around. And it took a while to complete, but we now have a 45-foot mural down there that says Keokuk that can be seen from Victory Park and from the river. Then our next project was the Pocket Park mural, and we did that in a cooperative effort with many different groups. We worked with Main Street when Kira from Main Street posted a survey asking for ways that we could develop a green space on Main Street. We reached out and thought we could help. And so we then went to the Art Center, and Barb Edler, who's the director of the Art Center, helped us get a grant through the Youth Services. And then we did an Artist in the Schools program with Heather Luff's students, and we had 180 kids participate. It was about not just teaching kids about murals, but teaching kids about you can make a change in your community, that they were to represent themselves or someone they love, and to put it all together that individuals form a community, and that it's a very beautiful thing. The kids were really great to work with, and they were very proud to have an opportunity to do something for the community, especially something on such a large scale. And that is not finished yet. There are other grants that are set aside from other organizations for landscaping and sculptures to be created by Keokuk High School welding students. So why I'm here is that murals are very expensive to create. The Pocket Park mural and the wildlife mural each cost a little over $5,000 in materials alone. The smaller murals, 10 foot by 10 foot, can cost $600 to $1,000. There's a lot of factors that go into figuring out the cost, but we use quality paints and materials, and again, it's very expensive. Well, we're really fortunate to have been approached by former Keokuk resident and patron Karen Marody Drucker, and she's offered to provide us with some money to pay artists to create murals. So far, all of our artwork has been done free of charge. So we can reach out and pay some artists to do some nice original designs. So that's an amazing gift, and we see a lot of possibilities. So if you look at page 4, we show you some walls, some empty spaces, some places that could use a little brightening. So there's some possibilities at the riverfront. Now, if you know, Karen Marody-Drucker's already donated a lot of money for improvements down at the riverfront, and there are trails that are going to be going in. So there are a couple buildings that the city owns. There's the Emergency Corps building and the Bridge Department building. And we have someone who's willing to seek out a grant to maybe paint those buildings, or at least portions of those buildings. And then we could create murals to go on one or both of those buildings, depending on money and designs that we have available. Or if not that, to create designs that could be hung on the fence. Now, again, the trail that's going in down there will go past that area as well. Okay, then the next possibility is under the bridge and at Gateway Park. We know that many people in Keokuk, many people have attempted to put some artwork there, but we see it as a place that could really be beautified. It's kind of a dark place, and everybody who comes up that hill entering Keokuk from the river could see something really nice. And we have an artist who's interested in creating something for that area. And we hope that we can see that happen. And that could stretch into the Gateway Park area onto those concrete curved planters. And we have talked to some of the board members or park board members about their interest and their ideas for that as well. And then, so the last few pages take us back up to Main Street and other places where business owners who have shown an interest in our murals have buildings. And thanks to Karen Marody-Drucker, we did get one beautiful mural on Main Street that was paid for by her. But when Thomas Agron came to town, he painted a beautiful mural for us at 7th and Main, and he's a well sought after mural artist, and we learned a lot working with him about the planning stages and the process. And it was exciting for everyone in Keokuk to get to watch him work, and I think everybody in town is pretty happy with his design. That's something we always have to consider, trying to please as many people as possible. It's not always easy, but it's not impossible. And there's a photo next to the picture of Thomas of the Lost Canvas building, and Jenny Henson is excited about the possibility of putting maybe a mural on her wall. And so I'm here to ask the city to help us continue to build pride by supporting the Wall Dogs in creating and painting murals. And Karen Drucker has offered to give us $10,000. And I was hoping that the city could match that and give us $10,000 as well to help us with cost. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Okay. Well, thank you for the opportunity to request.
Thanks, Martha. Great job. I think Mike Albright's here for the Veterans Memorial.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, honorable council, staff. After hearing our new administrator and Mr. Greenwald on the radio this morning, the topic of motel hotel tax came up, and I had specifically been looking forward to this. Having been installed with the Veterans Memorial Commission, there's some things that have taken place. I put in a request for $2,500. The reason for that is that for years, the American Legion had provided the flags to the Memorial Commission at no cost. We bought, paid for, and installed. Due to some changes, that's now on our plate as the Veterans Commission. They're about $500 a set. A new set was just purchased here just prior to Veterans Day. They need to be, at minimum, changed out twice a year. Once at Veterans Day, once at Memorial Day. Now, with the derecho that came through there 18 months ago, whatever, it took those flags out in a matter of seconds. So what I would like is to have 4 sets of flags, 2 for this upcoming 25 year and 2 for a backup, just to have put away in inventory should it be needed. Following that is the venue has always been handled by volunteers as far as cleaning, upkeep, taking care of it. Yeah, somebody else mows the grass and so on and so forth, but the pressure washing and actual visual cleaning of the facility, of the venue, has been handled by volunteers. No longer able to do that. You know, everybody on the commission is basically, there's only one that's younger than me that I know of, and we're just not able to do that anymore. Terry Bracklesberg had reached out to a company over in Carthage, Blue Line Power Washing, who is a police officer / veteran. He did this last one at no cost to us. He did it as, for lack of terms, a favor, something for the community, something for the memorial itself. We can't rely on that. We can't rely on hitting everybody up. So I'm asking for $500 to offset what next year's cost would be to keep this place, keep the venue up and nice and looking. Any questions? I'd like more money, but I'm going easy this time. Y'all gonna get to know me before this is over.
That's good, that's good.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you. Appreciate your time. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks, Mike. Next, we have Keokuk Homeless Alliance.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I appreciate the opportunity. First, I would like to thank you on the behalf of the Homeless Alliance for the council waiving our building permit fee. We greatly appreciated that. That was very nice of you. We appreciate your interest in the Homeless Alliance. If you don't know, we've been working, trying to convert the old VFW into the shelter. And all of our requests tonight come from our remodeling project that we had to get all of our plans and everything approved by the city so that we meet the city and state code for all this. And so I had many projects, but I listed the 3 biggest ones. And we need to, in order to run our install our fire sprinkler, we have to run a 4-inch line from down at the corner of 601 Johnson Street, hook onto the main, run a 4-inch line up and into the building so that the sprinkler system can be connected to that. And the second one is the sprinkler system. And all these plans have been approved by, we had to have them pre-approved by the city, and all the drawings and everything are on file with the city. So, and then the last one was install the fire alarms in the security system. And then once that's in, that will be monitored 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And that will be run by Parmore Security. And so, and we have a whole agreement with them that they will continually monitor it. And then once a year, they'll come in and test all the systems and make sure. And so, and that was also, we had to have all the drawings and approved by the fire chief, and all those drawings are sitting in the city with Pam Broomhall. So she's been very helpful with helping us get through this whole project. So everything's been approved. We are moving through. Just to update you, the firewall has been installed. And so that's completed. And we were required to do a ramp outside a sleeping room. So it's been completed. So we're now in the process of starting to move the next phases. We had to level the floor. We've got that pretty well done. We still got a little bit to do on it. But that's, you know, do you guys have the requests that I had? Okay, so you can see all the fees, but that's what we're really going at. And I read in the paper the other day on the first one, just to let you all know, we haven't stopped fundraising. We're doing that 24 every day whenever we get opportunities. In fact, in March 9th, Man Country is going to do a fundraiser for us with wrestling. March 29th, we're going to do the Masquerade Ball at the Myers Courtyard again this year. We're in contact with Golden Oaks right now to see that. And any chance we get to offer on grants, opportunities, I call people, businesses and everything else. And so whatever you can give us, we will be appreciative. This is my first time, we were told to come, so I did. So this is just another process for us to seeking funds. So I want you to be rest assured that we have really significant funds, but we still got a ways to go. And these are the three major projects that, we're getting closer to do, but, until we get the money, we can't do it. So, any questions? Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. We have next the Keokuk History Center.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eric Gates. I'm a member of the Keokuk History Center. It's formerly known as the Lee County, Iowa Historical Society. Local history is something that people love to talk about. They love to see it, learn about it. They really love to share their memories. When people interact with history, one thing is agreed on: it needs to be preserved and shared. Our organization has been doing that since 1956, so quite a while. The Miller House Museum houses the physical collection of the Keokuk History Center. It is also where we host speakers and events. The History Center has collaborated with local schools and organizations to provide tours of the house and to tell the story of our city through the collection. Locals and people coming to Keokuk are always looking for things to do and see, and we want the Miller House to be one of those experiences. We have presented tours of the Miller House and tours throughout the community at large. Most recently, the Murder Mystery Tour, bus tour, which was a sold-out event. We also proudly presented the walking tour of the Oakland Cemetery with the Historic Preservation Commission, the Oakland Cemetery Initiative, and other community organizations. It was incredibly well received, and we look forward to doing it again. We have hosted speakers on topics including sports, music, architecture, nature, early history, and so much more. In addition, we also have T-shirts and posters available for purchase, and we produce and sell a calendar each year featuring Keokuk's history. These sales and events combined with membership contributions are the primary sources of income for our organization. Grants have been applied for and received thanks to several community organizations. These funds help to reconstruct the porch floor of the Miller House in order to provide a safe and attractive entrance. The porch also does serve as a location to host a band for the Back Alley Band Fest, which we're looking forward to participating in this year. However, grants cannot pay the monthly bills for the Miller House. Our average monthly cost for utilities and insurance alone is $1,432.45. Those services are paid from our membership dues and donations and from a savings account. That account is dwindling at a rapid rate, and a rate which will not be sustainable for too much longer. We have worked with a strategic planner to develop a course of action for the History Center and the museum. As a part of our plan, we are working on increasing membership and donation income, as well as applying for grants to further the mission of the History Center. However, monthly expenses still need to be paid. With that in mind, we are requesting $10,000 from the city to supplement our operating budget for the coming year. While this amount will not cover the entire cost of our expenses, it will go a long way toward helping us utilize our current income while we pursue additional resources to carry us into the future. It will help us keep the lights on for tours and programs, and will allow the building to maintain a consistent temperature for the historical collection that we house in there. On behalf of the executive board and membership of the Keokuk History Center, thank you for the opportunity to present this request funding. If you're interested in joining or supporting the organization on a personal level, we would love to speak with you. You can find us on social media or email keokukhistorycenter@gmail.com. Thanks. I don't think I could answer any questions. I'm just I was the last minute sub in because no one else could make it, so.
You did a great job.
All right.
They'll probably have you do it again. Thank you very much, Eric. Next on the agenda is Main Street Incorporated.
Good evening. My name is Amy Hobb, and I'm the owner of Blue Umbrella Bakery at 412 Main and the vice president of Main Street Keokuk. For the upcoming fiscal year, Main Street respectfully requests $65,000 to support our mission of revitalizing and enhancing Keokuk's downtown district. The past year has been a transformative one for our organization. With the help of our community partners and the ongoing support of the City of Keokuk, we have achieved significant milestones that demonstrate the impact of Main Street's work. A few highlights include our adoption of new transformation strategies that are specifically tailored to the needs of downtown Keokuk and meet the accreditation standards of Main Street America. Doubling our operational budget and leveraging the city's $40,000 allocation for an additional $130,000 in program income. The installation of 2 new murals in the district, improving access to public art for all, and successfully securing over $330,000 in grant funding that will allow us to fully rehab 2 historic buildings in the 1100 block, implement a new brand for both Main Street and downtown Keokuk, and to develop a pocket park at 11th and Main. The city's support, both financially and ideologically, has been a vital key to these successes. The momentum is continuing to build throughout the district and beyond. Between 2nd and 18th Streets, where Main Street offers extended design services, Keokuk saw $12.3 million in building improvement and new construction investments in 2024. The completion of the cornerstone lofts in the next few weeks will bring new commercial space and several housing units to the 600 block. And the local ownership of the River City Mall will finally allow for critical rehabilitation and revitalizing one of downtown's most prominent structures. In the year ahead, new Main Street initiatives will enhance downtown's visibility, attract further investment, and install a stronger sense of community pride. The Downtown Dollars program will help to stimulate the local economy, support small businesses, and promote shopping local. The Adopt a Block program will engage community members in keeping our downtown clean and beautiful, reinforcing the idea that we all share responsibility for its care. And the implementation of our new organizational and destination branding will result in a new website complete with a business directory and a page dedicated to available properties in the district. Main Street is dedicated to driving meaningful change and positioning downtown Keokuk as a vibrant, thriving hub for commerce, culture, and community. We look forward to working alongside the council and city staff to achieve these shared goals. Thank you. Any questions?
For the facade grant program, who are your other sources for funding?
The facade grant, I believe that's part of the budget. That's part of the budget we asked for.
Saying, who are your other sources of funding for that? Is it just us or?
Yeah, we do some fundraising for it. We have some funds kind of capped already. We have that category in the applications for the facade grant for the last year. Any other questions? Okay.
I have one. But this is for the council, not for Amy.
Oh.
What year was Keokuk designated a Main Street community? Anybody know? You guys can join in out there too. Pardon me? Anybody want to say that's not right or that's right? Anybody? Pardon me?
2003.
2003? Anybody else want to take a guess? It's just a guess, guys. Huh? Who said that?
86.
Ding, 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 ding.
Ding, ding, ding.
And just so you know, you get a prize tonight, and this is Keokuk, this is Main Street Keokuk's new branding that's coming to the community now, and it's a great, great 1986. He had the answer. We decided we might want to do that in 1980. Okay, thank you very much, Amy.
Amy, I did have one quick question. So last year, your requested amount was for 40,000 and this year it's for 65. So is there something in particular that you have planned that you're wanting a $25,000 increase for, or what would be that? What would it be for?
A lot of it is with, to help with our staff, with helping with getting a buffer for these buildings that we have. We do have 7 buildings that we are actively working on. We are doing grants for those as well to kind of outsource the costs. But with the cost of everything, we just decided to up it a little bit this year just to see if we can kind of get that movement even more going this next year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Questions?
Okay, the next person that is coming up for us is Keokuk Fine Arts Council.
Hi, Chuck Peitcher from the, excuse me, from the 3rd Ward, and I'm representing the Fine Arts Council tonight. I gave you a written request for $12,000 and lists a variety of the things that we've supported in the last year. So I won't read all of those for you. You can look at those at your leisure, but I wanted to add on to those things. Right now, we're helping fund the repairs to the stage floor of the Grand Theater that's being worked on right now. We certainly invite you to come to the Keokuk, or to the high school art show that'll be put on next month down at the Los Canvas area. And we fund that and provide award money for that. I also invite you to come to Opera Iowa, and I think in April we'll be here. We're helping fund that through the Concert Association. Thank you. And we're hoping to help fund the new drama club at the high school, which is up and running this year for the first time in a while. You know, we provide a variety of funds for a variety of things for children through the summer arts programs and through the other grants that we give. So we hope you'll be able to support us again this year. Are there any questions? If not, also, I want to put in a plug. I've been talking to Brian Carroll. We're hoping to apply to the Sons and Daughters of Pioneer Rivermen for a grant for a painting on the Verity, finish the painting job on the bulkhead, the stern bulkhead and the pilot wheel. Hopefully we can get about $10,000 for that. And I hope you'll support that effort if we do get the grant. We've gotten grants from them maybe 5-6 years ago and 3 or 4 times over the years in the past. So I think we have a good chance of doing that. So thank you.
Thanks, Chuck. Next in line, Lake Cooper Foundation.
Doug Matlick here in Keokuk, 718 Grand. I'm here for the Big Dam Street Festival. I think this is our 7th year. We missed a year with COVID. Everything's pretty much the same as the past. This year, Main Street Keokuk is helping us with the Oktoberfest on Saturday. It's hard when you're doing an event and then you're trying to promote an event inside of an event. So I think Main Street can take it to the next level. We do that on Saturday during our regular festivities that we do. I think they're going to help just push that going where it needs to go. That evening, we'll still have our local bands all 3 days and nights, or all 3 nights, then Saturday. And we're going to do an AC/DC tribute band this year to follow up Main Street's Oktoberfest to make sure that it's a successful, big event that will help them and help us, continue to make this a bigger event. One of the things I've noticed around the area, and you guys get a lot of requests, so I get it. I mean, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 65,000, it's a lot of money. And money only goes so far. But well, I will say this, all these people here are worthy for the contributions that they do for the city. But so is this also. This is a community event that we do free as far as the entertainment goes. We have the same carnival. This will be our 3rd year we've had them. They're a fantastic group out of Illinois that comes and does a good job for us. They're the easiest carnival I've ever worked with. They're just a great family-ran carnival. And if you've been down there, you've seen it. But I just ask you once again for your support, and we're asking for the same amount. So I sure appreciate it. Any questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Last and certainly not least, Keokuk Tourism. Yes.
Thank you. Kirk Brandenberger, I'm the Executive Director of the Keokuk Area Convention and Tourism Bureau. Let's start off a little history, and it is near history. In 2024, about this time, we held Bald Eagle Appreciation Days, which celebrated its 40th year. And it kicked off one of the most challenging weekends of the winter and that we'd ever had. I came into the event on Saturday morning. It was -4 degrees, and we had 9 inches of snow. Now that's a great start for an event, but they definitely kept some people inside, but it affected the crowd, but the show went on. And we anticipate much better weather and a larger attendance this weekend. Geode Fest is the second of 2 events presented by the Keokuk Convention and Tourism Bureau. It was a great success. The weather was great. 1,249 geode hunters from 27 states, Germany and Australia, filled the hotel rooms, ate in our restaurants, and bought our goods and services. At least one of the ATMs nearby ran out of cash on Saturday morning. So that means that attendees were spending more than they anticipated and were having a great time while they were here. Attendees were able to attend the Big Dam Street Festival during the 24 event. The 25 events will also coincide, and plans are being made for the 2 events to work together for an even more successful weekend. Economic impact that weekend that was run through a equation that Iowa Travel Industry Partners have. It was about $800,000. Every hotel room was full. Speaking of marketing, our new marketing strategy will center around data gathered by arrivalists. Keokuk Tourism, in a 50-50 partnership with Fort Madison Tourism, are teaming up to improve marketing efforts and gain knowledge about our visitors. Arrivalists will provide us with visitation reports that will put true measurements on total estimated travelers, state and designated market area of origin, length of stay, seasonality, and comparisons of out-of-state travelers to all travelers. These reports are created by utilizing arrivalist geolocation data. Lee County is in the top 20% for total visitor spending in the state. Lee County ranks 18th out of the 99 counties, with visitors spending $53.51 million here last year, which is a growth of about 1.7%, according to information provided by Tourist Economics and Oxford Economics Company. With an increase of visitors to the county comes an increase in the hotel motel tax collection. The fiscal year 23-24 saw a record-breaking year with $353,498 collected from visitors lodging in Keokuk, and this fiscal year's receipts as of December 31st are running about 5% in front of ahead of that of last year. One attraction that draws visitors can be viewed from basically anywhere in the world. Our river camera, which debuted July 27, 2021, is now nearing 20 million views on Streamtime Live's YouTube channel. The boats in the summer and bird watching in the winter keep this camera active year-round as people discover life on the Mississippi around Keokuk. The Bureau's partnership with Streamtime Live has proven to be successful for both entities. There have been more than 1.3 million chat messages, which means that people are going there and talking to one another and gaining a relationship on the YouTube site. Keokuk Visitor Center welcomed folks from 37 states, Australia, Canada, Germany, Guam, New Zealand, Scotland, and Switzerland last year. Visitor inquiries coming through our website requested the printed visitor's guide. We sent them to 32 states. We also distribute the guides throughout Iowa, Missouri, and Illinois. We are the only revenue generator among the groups that have come before you this week and a couple weeks ago. Keep in mind, 100% of the hotel motel tax comes from tourism. The Keokuk Convention and Tourism Bureau respectfully ask for reinstatement of the 10% taken out of the fiscal 24-25 budget year, or a total of $138,000, to pursue increased marketing through the use of arrivalist data, billboards, print, and electronic media for the betterment of Keokuk.
I have a question for the camera. You said about 20 million hits. Are you guys advertising, or how are you capitalizing on that?
We are not at this time. There's plans to invite people in. We had plans a couple of years ago to start a weekend of having the people come in. It was too soon. It was set up real good where they had a very entertaining and educational weekend, but it was just too soon. So we'll probably do that again.
I asked Doug this question the other day. I'll ask you the same too. What kind of data have you collected in the past from these events? I mean, just from your office, not from partners.
Nothing real sophisticated. And that's why we're excited about joining in with Arrivalist. This is going to give us a tremendous, we've looked at other markets and other markets that we think is good, but that's all we think. And this will give us the tool to really start honing in on one of the initial results that we had showed that a high percentage of visitors during the time that it was ran came from Peoria Springfield market. We don't even advertise in the Peoria Springfield market. So now we will. So, you know, it's going to be a game changer, really is.
I have a question. How did you gather the amount that was collected from visitors lodging in Keokuk in the hotel tax collection?
Hotel motel tax
The
collection,
$353,000 value, how was that generated?
it comes on, um, you get that too. I
No, I
get the
mean-
figures from Celeste.
Okay.
I mean, it's
Oh.
it's the 5% tax on motel rooms. That represents about $5.05 million in motel rooms in Keokuk in a
Okay.
year.
So did you deduct the amount that was spent on hotel rooms from the Roquette visitors, or is that included in here since they've been?
It's included.
It's included. So since they've been using hotel rooms since last spring, would that make sense on the 5% increase? That they were here for the software upgrade and not necessarily for the tourism event?
Well, you have to understand, you can't really separate it out. I mean, when people come to Keokuk and they're just driving down the road, they don't come in for the events. They're just driving down the road and they need a hotel room. So they come and stay in our hotels and we collect that same 5% from them. It's a combination of all things. We can't put it on one thing, you know. That one weekend is a great weekend for an event, but, you know, we can't really say why they're coming to Keokuk, but they are. And we're glad they did.
Any more questions? Thank you, Kirk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that wraps up hotel motel tax for us tonight. What we do, you guys all know, of course, is see how much money that there is to give to everybody, and we hope that we can help everybody that has asked. We will be checking that out closer to the end of the budget and closer to the beginning of the fiscal year. And again, we hope that we can help everybody that we can. We work really hard at that, and thank you all for coming. You're welcome to stay.
And then I couldn't read it on consistency.
What do we do now?
Something that I didn't want to, and we'd already. I knew.
Okay. We're going to move on here to item number 2, which is TIF presentation. And we have a gentleman coming to the podium. Please state your name and all that, and we'll go on.
Should I be offended they all left?
Probably not.
Sure, probably fair. So my name's Tim Oswald, and I work for a company called Piper Sandler. And I've been coming to the city for quite a number of years, as my hair would suggest, helping you when you borrow money. So the question Emmanuel asked was, that I think was coming from you, was what kind of TIF resources are available for use? And so, like any good logical discussion, I thought we should talk about sewers. Because I think you'll hear they become somewhat related. And so, a bit of background. The city has an agreement, what's called a consent order with the US EPA governing its sanitary sewer system and the need to separate the lines throughout the city that are sanitary from stormwater process. And you've done a number of projects over the years where you've been following the consent order. And over the years, from way back to when this was first put in place, we've updated sewer estimates and kind of calculated how you'd pay for these things. And one of the assumptions that we had made early on was that the TIF would be a meaningful contributor to the paying for part of the cost of the sewer separations. Doing okay? But if I say something you want to talk about, I don't believe in holding your questions or statements. So anyway, over the years, TIF dollars have been used for some other things, and I'm not here to criticize any of those decisions. The council made those, and that is well within their prerogative. So you've done some improvements and used TIF dollars to pay for those. But before you run off and say, I want to use some TIF dollars to do X, I wanted to talk about the impact that every dollar has in terms of how the sewer costs will be. So one of the things that when we get into the numbers, I have made some assumptions about future sewer project, and after some conversation, the assumptions are out of date. And so I would ask you to not get wedded to the numbers when we get to those. Your engineer is pursuing some different options with the EPA in terms of scope and timing of the next phase of projects. What I want you to kind of focus on is, do we want to use TIF to help pay for some of that project? Doing okay? Okay. Thank you. So that's your little bit of sewer history. Now moving on to kind of the TIF numbers themselves. The TIF value in the current budget year, almost 38.5 million, and that generates $1,570,000 for the city. That's in the current budget year. Property values for the upcoming budget year are slightly different, and we would calculate that the TIF will generate around $1,600,000. We don't know exactly what it'll generate because we don't know Lee County's tax rate. We don't know Keokuk School's tax rate. We don't even necessarily know the city's tax rate yet. You haven't done your budget, nor have any of those other entities. So it could move around a little bit. I'm assuming that the TIF tax rate will be the same as the current budget year. So that's just an assumption. Doing okay? Okay, so the second page and I'm going to wander into some numbers to kind of help you understand capacity. The second page of what you have is the current obligations that the city has from prior TIF expenditures, what those payments are, and then kind of a calculation of what's left. So one of the misnomers that I often get from public is an assumption that we have to set up a bond payment like a loan. So, when I buy a car and I get a 3-year loan and the payment's the same every month, right? In the bond world, we don't have to do that. And so sometimes there are bonds that have payments in 1 year that are meaningfully higher or lower than a payment in another year. And for lack of a better term, we call that wraparound. We wrap a new bond around the payments of an old bond or around some other consideration. In the city's case, you've got 4 bonds that you pay that remain outstanding, that you use TIF to pay some or all of those bonds. And probably the biggest one would be the building, and I don't know the correct name for the
Sid Center.
Thank you. At this point, that's probably the biggest lingering one. And I point that out because that one we had to do a wraparound borrowing in order to fit it within the TIF cash flows. So the payments on that loan are quite small for the next few years, and then they get to be quite a bit larger starting in 2032. Doing okay? All right. So total payments in the upcoming budget year on the 4 bonds that you have are just over $1 million. We just said you're going to get $1,600,000 in TIF dollars. So pause right there. You have $600,000 to work with, right? To directly answer the question, there's some dollars there. If you were going to borrow money, of course, $600,000 over a period of time is quite a bit of money, and you could certainly borrow and do a meaningful project with that. Still okay? All right. However, for every dollar you go borrow for this is a dollar that's not available for sewers. And I'm not going to say one is right and the other is wrong. I just want to make sure when you make that decision that you know you went into the decision knowing full well what's forthcoming. And it does sound like you have another project likely in, let's say, 3-4 years for sewer, and that the cost of that project is somewhere in the 50 million range. And so the TIF isn't going to pay all that project. There's not that kind of money. You'll have to rely on sewer dollars and taxes and grants to pay for that project. But I still have assumed that you would use TIF as a contribution towards that project. And so when I've done the calculation, and I have made this number up, I'm disclosing it right now. This is a Tim made up number. I've assumed you'd contribute 11.5 million of TIF dollars towards that project. We can change that to 10, we can change it to 15, we can change it to whatever. And we can change it to 0. But if we use that 11.5 million, you'll still have a TIF surplus of 450,000 a year that's available for other projects and other purposes. If you were wanting to borrow and do a larger project right now from TIF, that 450,000 per year would likely allow you to borrow north of 5 million to jumpstart a project. And so this is kind of where I have to pause and say, I don't know enough about what you want to do, and you're considering doing, to say, do you need to borrow? How much do you need to borrow? When do you need to borrow? And what most communities, when they ask us to do this exercise, we end up going back and forth like this. I'll say, here's what you got available. And then you'll say, here's what we want to do. And here's a timeline over which we want to do that. And we'll play around with some numbers and try and find a way to accomplish all your goals. So now I get to pause and ask you, are there things specific on your list you would like to accomplish, and in what timeline?
From a bonding perspective, the council has talked about road repair. And, we did a $5 million bond a couple of years ago, and we had talked about that being recurring for a handful of times. And so I believe that might be coming up again.
Yep.
And we also have had some other things come up, for example, like a fire truck that we potentially need, $1.5 million for, give or take. And so, if we were looking at like a $7 million bond coming up this next crack at it, that's my starting point with the conversation.
And I do want to talk about the bond, because that's next on my agenda. I do think we need to talk about timing and all of that, but you can't use TIF to pay for a fire truck. So we have to use TIF to pay for things that are inside the urban renewal area and that are part of the urban renewal plan.
So are these are separate conversations then? Bonding for something like the fire truck is a separate conversation on what the TIF impact could have on our bonding limit?
They morph together. I'd like them to be separate, but they're going to come together. So, for example, a number of cities will use TIF to pay for, let's say, a street project, right? Repairing replacing the water and sewer and putting in new concrete and sidewalks, the whole, what a street project will look like. Well, that can be TIF or that can be GEO, either one. So they do tend to morph together because of the purposes. But we do have, under Iowa law, you do have to make sure the project that you're using the TIF dollars to pay was an eligible urban renewal project. So if the street project, continuing my example, if the street project is what we want to do, well, then we'll double check and make sure that the plan contemplates that street project. If it doesn't, we'll modify the plan so that it does, and then you can use TIF to pay for it. That's how they kind of morph together.
Well, as you saw, we had a lot of hotel motel requests tonight. We had them at the previous meeting as well. And so I'd be curious in knowing, with some of those requests that we've had, which ones of those could potentially fall under the category of being TIF eligible? And then that could help us as we figure out all these different pots that we have to distribute.
Okay.
Main Street is like one of the big ones that maybe looks at to me because they made a sizable request. They're working, in the district. They now are revitalizing property as part of their projects. So that could be a potential one maybe.
Yeah, this is a really good discussion, so thank you. A number of cities will use TIF to pay for building rehab, facade redos, helping owners of buildings upgrade their facilities to allow tenants, ground floor and above tenants. Many of those projects are really easily TIF eligible. The art installments are a little more difficult. And I'm not criticizing those. I just, and anything that has kind of an operational bent to it, we use these dollars to pay for the staff time to do this. Those tend to be not very TIF friendly. So think about things in terms of capital, physical. The nice feature of the city, the vast majority of the city is inside the urban renewal area. There's very little property that's not in the area. And so in terms of boundaries, you're really not very constrained. You can do what you want within the city. Doing okay?
Mm-hmm.
You've got to have something, Roger. Well, so back to the sewer thing. So that's what I suspected, was that this was really a discussion about streets. So we could use TIF to pay for a set of street projects. And you'd have to borrow money, so you'd issue a bond, and then you would use the TIF dollars to repay the bond over the life of the bond. Pretty straightforward transaction. Cities do that all the time. Streets under Iowa law are considered an essential purpose. So the process to sell that bond is you schedule and hold a hearing, you listen to the public, and then you do what you want, right? So there's no election, there's no petitions, you could get unelected, but if that's a penalty, I don't know. But that's really it. The law is very nice. So streets and the infrastructure underneath them are really easy TIF projects. We just have to double check to make sure with your attorneys to make sure that the plan contemplates the street. If it doesn't, there's a process to go through that puts the street project in the plan, and then you're home free. And there's plenty of time to do that.
You might explain to us what is a TIF dollar?
Yeah, great question. Really good question. So picture a vacant parcel of property. I remember when the middle school was up the street, but so picture that site after the school was pulled down. The value of that land is next to nothing, right? It's just vacant land that was actually governmental land at the time, so it was zero. So in a TIF, what you take the value of a property and the city freezes the value as of that day. And then if something gets built on that property, the taxes that are paid by that building owner are diverted. Now, there's a few exceptions, so I don't want to be accused of lying. There are a few dollars that stay with the school and stay with the county, but the vast majority of the taxes are diverted to the city, in this case, and you can use them to pay for any TIF indebtedness you've incurred towards your project. The TIF goes all the way back to actually before the 93 flood. Um, Twin Rivers Drive is my memory of the first project that was built with it. So, and then the flood wall and all the infrastructure after the 93 floods. And you've done several things since then in this area of town. When you started to get doing okay so far? So if a building pops up on a vacant piece of land and the building and the county assesses it and, make up a number, it's worth $2 million, and the taxes paid by that landowner are $60,000 a year. Well, that 60 grand comes to the city, and the city uses that money to pay for whatever costs it incurred to help the original plan and get in place. So maybe you put in sewers, or maybe you put in sidewalks, or whatever infrastructure or grants that you did at the time. Doing okay? Your TIF area does not include, this is where it gets a little more cumbersome. Your TIF area does not include the whole city. The urban renewal area is the whole city, most of the city. The TIF area largely follows kind of the more commercial part of town, riverfront, Main Street business areas. And that was done by design. The council at the time wanted to capture kind of more non-residential TIF dollar increases in property values. So the dollars come from a smaller map. The dollars can be spent anywhere in the urban renewal area. So again, almost anywhere, almost in the whole city. So there is a little uniqueness in terms of the way the map lays out itself.
Am I correct? A TIF dollar, the county, the school, when they don't get their money outside of debt service, the rest of their tax dollar comes to the TIF.
Doing fine. The school now gets its instructional support levy and its PEPAL levies. So the TIF laws have gotten a little tighter there. And then just to remind you, there's a whole calculation for the impact on the school district. They're not out of pocket operating money because the way the school funding formula works. So the county's out of pocket money. You're out of pocket in your general fund. For every dollar that comes in TIF, 20 or 30 cents of that would have come to the city's general fund.
That money can't go to the general fund. It goes to the project that you TIF.
Yeah.
And like Jackson Avenue out there, I believe we TIFed that, and the street that goes by Deer Meadows, we TIFed that and done those streets. The taxes off those properties that border those streets come in as a TIF, and we paid off the street projects with it. But the other money did not go to the county, or you say it does go to the school district?
School gets certain levies. Yeah.
Okay.
Correct. One of the things that people find confusing is the linkage between how you spent the money, like the street project, and the payment from property owners, the landowners around the street project. And in some instances, cities link those two together. So they might say, we're going to use the property taxes from this parcel to pay, and whatever that parcel generates is what we'll use to pay for the street project. In your case, you've used any TIF dollar received from any part of the city to pay for the debts that you've incurred. So there's no linkage between where you built the project and the taxes paid by the people who live or do business around that project. Not saying that's a good or bad. That's just how you've operated. Doing okay? So the last page of my then is to move into the bond issue discussion a little bit. I understand you'd like to borrow some money here, this budget process, so let's call it this summer. And so I wanted to outline, and what I put together is just a simple timeline, the kinds of things that your lawyers and we would want to know in terms of action. You have a budget to get done, and in order to include a bond issue in the budget, there's time to do that, but we need to start taking some actions about scheduling and holding a public hearing on the borrowing. And that means we need to decide, what are we borrowing for? I've heard fire truck, and I've heard streets. Probably your attorney is going to say which streets. So we'll need to put a little color into, where you want to go in terms of what streets you're thinking about. So my idea, and this is just my idea, is that at your meeting on Feb 13, you would set the hearing date for the borrowing. And then at your second meeting in February, you'd hold the borrowing hearing, listen to the public, and then be able to include that bond. After that point in time, you'd include that bond payment in next year's budget. And I'll give Emmanuel and Celeste a payment schedule to go with, so they can put that into the budget forms. And then in terms of process from there, I just made up days assuming you wanted money by early summer. So I just had us kind of starting taking action in March and wrapping things up in May. Following your normal council schedule, not asking you for special meetings. This is where I kind of pause and say, we do need to think a little bit about, when do you really need the money? And there's a difference between when you need the money and when you start a project. So take a street, for example, you hire an engineer, you start doing design work. You might have a few dollars going out for engineering work, not much. You're not going to spend money until after you let the contract and they mobilize and start doing demo and then, typically there's a process where they submit expenses and you review them and then pay. So a lot of times, there's 30 or more days lag between when the project starts and when you get bills. So what I usually ask cities to do is kind of start from the end. Where do we think we'll need money? Where do we want to be in terms of letting contracts? And then we'll build a schedule that fills in the holes working backwards from there. If you said we want money in June, we're going to be spending money in June, I'd probably say, well, we've got a pretty good timeline here. We've got 30 days of fluff in here, but we've probably got a timeline. If you said we don't need money until, August, I might change the timeline and slow things down a little bit. And the reason I bore you with that detail is interest starts accruing when you take the money. So it's not like a construction loan where you pay interest on just the amount you've got out. You pay interest on the entire amount from the day of closing. Now the counter is that cash comes to the city, you deposit it in the bank, you earn interest on that cash as well. So hopefully those two offset each other. But that's a word, hopeful. So.
What if we find ourselves in a situation where one project, we need the money June 1st, but then other aspects, we don't need the money until November 1st?
Yeah.
What would you recommend? Because if we're looking at doing a bond, that's just going to cover several different projects. How should we go about that?
Good question. And so I'm going to joke and make fun of myself. The last thing you want to do is pay us twice, right? You're going to pay between us and the lawyers and the bond rating folks, and there's fixed fees. And so it's really inefficient for you to write those checks multiple times. So I think the goal should be, within reason, the goal should be to manage those fees, to try and keep them to once. With that being said, where interest rates are right now, you should be able to earn a rate of interest plus or minus that's about the same rate you're paying on the bond. So if you're earning 5% sitting on the cash and you're paying 5% to the lender, you're really probably not out much money. In which case you would solve for borrowing to fund the first project. You do it up front, which I think is probably the fire truck.
Yeah.
So seems to me the fire truck is kind of the tail wagging this dog, if you will. Go ahead.
Cannot be utilized with the tenant fund, right? But it's not being utilized, then it is different.
Great question. So when you borrow money, you're not obligated to borrow like each individual purpose separately. So for example, you don't have a bond that pays for the street and then a separate bond that pays for a truck and then a separate bond that pays for sewer improvements. If they're all kind of going on at the same time, again, for efficiency reasons and for fees, we would typically lump those together into one borrowing. So then what I do is prepare a breakout. Here's how much is for the TIF. Here's how much is for the truck. Here's how much is for the whatever. And then at that point, it's really an accounting exercise in the budget form. So you're on the right path. But we will address that with breakout schedules within the one bond. Yeah. Yeah, correct.
In my days of being a citizen, coming up to the podium and asking about the last one, 5 million, was in-house for almost a year before any of the funds were touched. And I asked them why it was not put into the account. The fee was getting a little bit of something. And I was told that research was done and that it was not fiscally prudent to do that because of all the state hooks that you had to jump. That wasn't the words that was given to me, but that was my.
Okay. So that's possible. There are regulations that apply. The IRS governs this type of debt, and the IRS specifies what we have to do. And I won't bore you too much with the details other than to say you're allowed to earn interest on the idle cash up to the interest rate on the bond. So you can break even. If you may be allowed to earn interest higher than that. So in my example, if you're paying 5% on the bond and you're earning 6%, you're making 1%. You may be allowed to do that, but you may not be allowed to do that. And that's a very fact-specific exercise. But you are allowed to earn interest up to the interest rate on the bond. So if that were said, that's unfortunate that was said that way. That's probably not exactly correct. But there is an exercise that you'll end up going through to prove out to yourself that you complied with the IRS rules at the end of the bond projects. And that's something that, Celeste will, and I'll help, but Celeste will manage through that. Doing okay?
I've got another question. When you were talking about TIF, you said that depending on variables, it's realistic for us to think that there's 400 to 600 give or take available on a given year for us when we're making decisions with the upcoming budget session. When we look at the same with bonds, then what is the ceiling that the city is allowed to bond up to? And I know we've got a lot of different kinds of bonds, general obligation bonds, and the street bonds. And if we're looking at doing another wave, what is our actual bonding capacity that we have available to us? And asking that, knowing that I don't want us to max that out because we never know when that next thing could pop up, like the fire truck that we're looking at now. So we don't want to put ourselves at 100% capacity, but I think it's prudent that we know what we've got on the playing field when we're making these decisions.
And I should have anticipated you asking that. I do have the calculation. I just don't remember the number. So if it would be acceptable, I'll get you the calculation, excluding and including the bond you're talking about, so you can see.
I think the other part too, Tim, is the council's used to hearing 5 million.
Yeah,
That number's more.
that was a totally made-up number. I'm sorry.
We made it up a couple of years
It's
ago.
okay. So what I would, it's fine. There's no art in terms of the law as far as, well, if we go over 5 million, we have to vote. There's no such rule. There is a IRS rule. If you go over 5 million, you trigger a different set of IRS rules. But that's a different topic. I think the 5 million just kind of morphed into and I would ask you to ask yourselves, well, how much money do we want to spend each year? And on streets, because that's what we should be talking about is, and what does that money buy you in terms of, blocks or miles or whatever the case may be. All right, so then a couple of items. One is I think what we should do on the TIF front is put Pam and Emmanuel on a discussion with your attorney around the street projects you want to do this summer, next summer, and let's make sure that the plan allows the TIF to be used for those projects. So that's an easy next working item, if that's okay. And then in terms of borrowing, I'll go ahead and get the process going with your attorney to get the borrowing onto your next couple of agendas. You can hold the hearing. It doesn't mean you're borrowing the money. It means you've told the public that you're thinking about borrowing the money. So, and we usually use words not to exceed followed by a dollar amount. And so not to exceed means no more than this, but it doesn't mean you have to borrow that amount. You can borrow less. So, doing okay? So then my last item, we're thrilled that you invite us back. You're not obligated to do so, and we recognize that. Each time we assist the city, we do so with an agreement at that time. And so one of the things you'll see from us, and I think you'll see also from your lawyers, is an engagement letter that specifies what we do and what we charge and all that. So we'll be sending that as well, and just so you understand why that's forthcoming. I'm here. Any other questions you want to ask? Comments?
I just want to say Tim has been wonderful in helping me catch up and kind of understand TIF and bond and a lot of things that were somewhat new to me in this area. And with I call Tim probably every other day or every hour, just like he's talking to you right now. I've had a few of those sessions catching up. So if any questions you have at a different time, you can just send them to me or we'll talk to Tim directly.
Anybody else?
Input from the EPA on their necessary work that they're looking at that we must get done. I've heard so much said that all the cities along the Mississippi are expected to do this sewer separation, but not very many have undertaken the steps to do that. Are you aware of any situations?
Because of the age of the cities along the river, you tend to be older than cities in the rest of the state. So you tend to be the ones who would have built combined sewers originally when that design was thought of as the way you deal with sewer. And so the communities that you're thinking of, most of them have some sort of order or consent agreement. Some with the EPA like you and some with the state DNR. So it depends on which city as to who the regulator is. I wouldn't say I pay like day-to-day attention, but I've kind of watched most of the communities, and I would say, like you, most of the cities up and down the river have been doing projects regularly.
And Tom can fill you in on the steps that we're taking. Go ahead, Tom.
Now, specifically with our sewer separation mandate, I believe we've just been collecting data samples for a period of time, and then we were going to renegotiate with the EPA to see what our next steps look like.
Correct. Right now, we are poised to start the first flush study. Our engineer from Veenstra and Kim is going to come down, I believe, next week. I just got an email from him. He would want to make sure that all the equipment that we purchased has arrived, and it has. And he's going to speak with I don't know, a construction company or somebody to move forward and the next step, installing, I think, the rain gauges, probably flow meters. There's a lot of different things involved with that. And the big part of that whole project, the first flush study, is the refurbishing of 3rd and Des Moines. I've never been in there, but I've seen pictures of it, and it's like a big vault under the intersection. And they have to do some construction there. I'm not an engineer. I don't know the depth of it, but it's probably the most involved part of this step. And the EPA agreed to let us do this first flush study instead of spending, I've heard estimates $120 million for the tunnel under Rand Park. Now, nobody wants to spend that much money. But there's a few things, and personally, I think this first flush study is going to tell us a lot. We may be able to get by with some underground storage vaults, structures at different places. There's a few really good spots we can put in, maybe store 5 million gallons, depending on the rain event, and just slowly treat it after the rain stops. To me, that sounds like a really good way to go. But we're going to find out a lot more at the end of this first flush study. So that's where we're at with that.
Do we have a timeline for when all these studies, we would anticipate them being done, when we would sit down to figure out what our next phase does look like? I mean, are we looking 1 year, 5 years?
I'd have to look at the approval letter from the EPA as to how much time they're going to give us. But I think we're not rushed. We're doing pretty well.
Any more questions? No? Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 3 is a grant discussion in the EPA Thriving Communities Grant Making Program, and that is Pam.
And I will not bore you too long. I just wanted you to know and make sure it was okay with the city council. I am working with regional planning to hopefully put an application in for the Environmental Justice Thriving Communities Grant-Making Program. The program just is basically for, there's 3 different tiers. There's a foundational support, which actually is a non-competitive. That's kind of like staff development, process improvement. There is the tier 2, which is an assessment. Tier 3 is planning. Tier 3 is project development and a couple of, so they're more or less environmental, for environmental and public health issues. There's a couple of them that we've actually thinking about is the 18 acres at 365 Carbide that we have not had any environmental cleanup grants for. So we would like to maybe go ahead and apply for doing an environmental assessment on that, if there's any cleanup needed, and then possibly some forestry, like trails, mountain bike trails out in that area. And then 1012 Blondo Street, we had talked about that when Oseen was here, when they were talking about this grant. It's possible that we could go ahead. There is somebody interested in looking at that tomorrow, so we're going to show it to them. But it's possible also to do affordable housing on this. So it's maybe look at stabilizing the roof and the walls, and then just go ahead and put it out for a proposal for someone else to complete it instead of the city demolishing it. So those are a couple of them. There's a few other things we're looking into, but I just wanted to let you know there's no match. You can get up to 350,000 on the development portion of it. So it's not a huge grant, but every little bit helps.
No match is great. That's the part we love the most.
Okay, so I think that's it, guys. Thanks for being patient, and let's all go home.